Yo, this is just, you're just getting better and better every time, bro.
We're just doing it. We're just doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're live now on YouTube and Facebook. What's up, everybody?
All right. Well, hey, it's really exciting to have everybody with us for the Greater Everyday podcast. And this is a place where we talk about real issues. We do not avoid difficult issues. But at the same time, we really have a commitment not to demonizing anyone or deifying anyone.
No one.
We just try to deal with the issues as they are and really honor God in all that we do. And we're so excited that you join us, whether you're joining us on YouTube Live or Facebook Live, or you're listening to this on a podcast, wherever you connect with us, and you can connect with us in a lot of different places. Our prayer is to build you up and inspire you that every single day you'd be greater in your faith. And so we're right here in Foundation Studios. My name is Will, and I'm right here with my brother.
I'm Anton. Welcome back, homie.
Man, it is good to be back right here in Foundation Studios, man. There's a lot that's been going on in the world. And today was a great day, a great day at church. I was really inspired just by the whole service from start to finish. So what got you?
We have just been, I'm just happy with the, we're approaching. Why are people texting me now?
Hey man, they're trying to catch you, man. You busy.
We're approaching kind of like the year mark. I meant to look that up like when we started out. By the next podcast I would have it.
It was in March.
Yeah, it was in March. And just the level that we are at now, that we're able to hold in terms of like production quality. You've gotten so much more comfortable. Marcus has gotten so much more comfortable. Kai has come in and he was already comfortable,
right?
And just with just being online. You know what I mean? Like you having to like change your entire flow. I remember we started at the park.
Sure did.
Behind the cherry tree. People were like, "Is that a green screen?" And all that type of stuff. We came from
remember
there.
We had that little kid that was there and the dog that was barking, and we're trying to manage all the ambient noise.
So we had all that going on. We went from there to like your loft. And me, you, and Amanda trying to figure it out. Marcus coming to help us, Logan helping us, and then it was like, okay, we need to do multi cameras, and then we figured that out, and then and then look at us now. Man. Worship service amazing, communions coming in amazing,
man,
preaching amazing, and just the level amazing. Where we are from March. Coming up onto March now, it's like night and day. And we thought we were hot stuff when we started off.
Man.
And now we're like, oh, we know what we're doing now,
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. We know what we're doing. I look, the Father's listening. I ain't trying to be humbled. I ain't trying to have our Wi-Fi never work again. But we've definitely stepped up, man. We've definitely, I feel like, just looking at the congregation right now, it definitely is a greater everyday situation. Like every day, just seeing people step up and give and serve. I mean, today, listening to Renee Lombardo just share her deep conviction about giving, that was so moving, so inspiring. Just with Justin and Christy and them sharing their hearts and just to think a year ago they weren't married, or they just got married actually, and now they're just flowing, man. I mean, it was so inspiring. And then Marcus and Lexi, they were fire, man. They were just dropping the scriptures, moving with deep conviction, really helping all of us. I could not have been more inspired than I was today.
It's just so cool to see how despite all of the adversity, I saw, something about us approaching like 500,000 deaths. From coronavirus, despite everything that we've gone through now, a year in, everyone knows somebody. I remember we first started this and it was like, well, my friend's third cousin's aunt, it was, she got coronavirus and we don't really know what happened. Now it's like, my mom.
Right.
Me, my mom, my sisters, my brothers. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know people like immediate family.
Right.
Who suffered, some of my closest friends, some of our brothers and sisters in the congregation. Yeah. And it's just to see how far, like despite all of that adversity, just to see weekly us just trying to, do something for 45 minutes on Sunday to bring a little joy in people's lives. So I'm just really humbled. I really appreciate all the hard work that, you and everybody behind you do to make that presentation, what it is. And, from having meetings about, not going past 25 minutes and all that sort of thing. And, just to where we are now, I'm just really happy with it. And I can't wait till we move into, our new place and just to go take this momentum and go forward with it.
Absolutely. I am completely with you and incredibly grateful just for what God is doing and how his Holy Spirit's just guiding and directing us.
It's funny because like reading 40 days of prayer, when he said, when you're checking things off your impossible prayer list, one of the things, the impossible prayer thing, to be honestly, is really difficult for me. But one thing that really hit me was like looking for signs that God's working on your behalf. That is just really just on a micro level has really helped me so much. Like you saw that I took my pilot's license.
Yes, you did.
And that day, it was supposed to be that Monday.
Drone pilot, baby.
Yeah. And
drone pilot.
And it was supposed to be like icy and cold. And I thought they were going to cancel them in the last minute. That would have cost me like $150.
But also all that studying and all that anxiety.
Yeah. And that would have been pushed back a week or a day or something like that. And I had a ton of anxiety going.
I remember.
And then I remember like praying before then, and in the morning before I got there, and I remember thinking like, God, it was supposed to be icy and snowing again, and this is a beautiful day, and things like that I didn't notice before, or if I did, I wasn't thankful about it. I was just like, oh, it's a nice day today. I didn't really say God's looking out for me. So things like that in that book have really, really, really changed my outlook about how I'm looking for signs that God is working for me.
And he definitely is, man. And I'm so, I just want to say congratulations to you. None of us doubted that you would be able, oh, what's up, Mike? Yeah, he's reaching out to us from China, man. Oh man, Mike's just such a cool guy, man. I'm so grateful that you can check in with us here. So that's so cool. So, just appreciate all the love from all over, man. But, none of us had any doubt that you were going to get your FAA drone pilot's license, except for you. I remember you were feeling it, man. And I was just so grateful to see what God did and how he's blessed us. But you're right. It's definitely been a year, and a year that has transformed all of our lives. And, as we think about that here on the Greater Everyday podcast, tonight we're just going to take some time to really talk about the art of spiritual warfare. And we've been going through 40 days of prayer, the 7 steps to spiritual breakthrough from Kit Cummins. I definitely encourage you to check out this book and check out Kit Cummins on his website, kitcummins.com. And you and I, we vibe a lot off Sun Tzu and the art of war. And, and one of the things that Sun Tzu says that just there are a number of things that Sun Tzu says, but one of the things that he says is that the art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. And, that is a matter of life and death. And, a lot of times we think about physical war. We're learning now about the potent effect of psychological warfare, of cyber attacks and cyber warfare, of information wars. But there is a warfare that is as old as time, and it's spiritual warfare. The first battle that was waged on this planet was a battle for our souls, and a spiritual contest, which by no means Satan is going to win, but on all levels, Satan is planning on competing. And it's a contest for our very beings, for our very souls. And so spiritual warfare is something we need to be aware of, and we need to be equipped for. Prayer is of vital importance, and but also understanding the scriptures, understanding the importance of thinking spiritually, thinking strategic spiritually is really important. And so tonight we're going to, take tonight and maybe a couple nights after this, just to really talk about the art of spiritual war, and kind of where we might glean some wisdom so that every day when we go on the field of battle spiritually, that we're prepared and that we can achieve the victory that God intends for us to achieve.
Okay. Well, a quick housekeeping note. Right before you came,
Yep.
I received an email that if you guys don't know, we use Buzzsprout as our, for lack of a better term, storage capsule that keeps all of our podcasts, so we can distribute them to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all that. So they're currently under, you talked about warfare. They're currently under cyber war, like somebody's like attacking them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we just get an email. So what it basically does is it bombards them with so much requests for more information that it basically crashes the site.
Oh wow.
And so, usually people use it as like ransomware. It's like, well, we'll stop the attacks if you pay us a certain amount of money. We'll stop doing it. So they're kind of up under attack right now. So hopefully they can resolve that. The good thing is none of our financial information, our data, like our podcast, any of that stuff's compromised. So we're good on that front. But hopefully I can get into it so we can upload this for the people who don't, who aren't watching this live or choose to, watch it just audibly. They can just see it a little bit later. But if you're hearing this and this is late, this is why. So if you're the first time you hear this is on Wednesday or Thursday, because of that, not because I'm being lazy and not uploading it like I should. So just a quick housekeeping note.
Hey, that's critical, man. Warfare is real, and and definitely we're living in a world where physical warfare is definitely a thing, but psychological warfare, cyber warfare, spiritual warfare is a critical thing.
It's a lot of warfare.
It's a lot of war, man. Matter of life and death, bro.
Yeah.
Matter of life and death. So with that in mind, let's take a look at a scripture. If you don't mind turning over to Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 17.
All right. Just give me a second. Let me pull it up here. And I'll put it on the screen.
And if you're listening, you can open up your Bible on your phone or your physical Bible and take a look over at Isaiah. I encourage you to read the whole chapter for context.
Isaiah 54.
Yep. And verse 17.
Okay.
And this is what it says right here in Isaiah 54.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, yeah. No problem.
Let me just share that screen. Share. And share.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
And it says, no weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. This is their vindication from me, declares the Lord. No weapon formed against you will prevail. That doesn't mean that weapons won't be forged against you, and they will be. But no weapon forged against you will prevail. It just won't. It will not prevail. We are going to get hurt in this world.
Yeah,
but
that's vital.
That's important to understand, and I think vital. That's the and I know you're a big Goggins guy, and he talks about the importance of like embracing the suck. Just like, look, it's gonna hurt. You cannot be on planet Earth and not have things go bad.
Well, let me ask you. I think that we are, for some of the younger people, I think that like because this age of technology, things just like I don't have anything against technology. I wouldn't have a career if we're not for technology.
Love technology, but
as tasks are being made easier, life is being made easier. So there's a lot of situations where you think that like everything should come easy.
It doesn't.
And as things become easier, your tolerance for pain and embracing the suck might go down. And you might think, like, well, why is this like this? Why can't it just be easy? Why, and you might not understand the fact that, like people our age, we understand like, I got everything I had. I've had to, scratch, claw, and grab everything that I've had, that I have. And we're, people a little bit younger than us might, and I mean like way under us. I don't mean like people like in their 30s or 20s. I mean like young folks, like teens. They might think like, when I turn the TV on, everything that I want to watch is there.
If not, I'm really frustrated.
Yeah.
But, but I think what we've got to recognize is what that does on a societal level. And this is mostly something that's happening in the Western world.
Yeah.
But what it does on a societal level is it creates a society of sheep. Because the truth is, if you are used to everything being easy, and you don't know how to function when it's hard, then you will be controlled by the people who have the wherewithal to do the hard stuff. And I think
I need to clip that,
bro. That's just a real. But I think we have to recognize that there is an intentionality about this.
Yeah,
that's happening in the world, and we need to foster toughness. We need to foster fortitude. We need to recognize that spiritual warfare is a matter of life and death. There's no easy faith. That's the other thing. Easy believerism and cheap grace is a big part of why people don't have a mature faith, and they stay in a perpetual infant state spiritually, because you got to fight.
What do you mean by that?
So easy believerism is this idea that, all right, so I believe, therefore everything's good. I can live however I want to live, and God's good with that. Instead of, man, I really do believe in God, and I'm going to really fight to live out what I believe. Cheap grace is, God's grace is abundant, and therefore I don't have to take it that seriously. It runs on the same wavelength as what you're talking about. I should be able to pick up the remote, and I get what I want when I want. I get my food when I want. I want, my way. Make my burger my way. Do it my way. But what this inculcates is a culture of people who don't have and don't develop the kind of spiritual fortitude that takes them beyond the infancy of their faith and into a mature faith. The truth is, everybody you read about in the Bible that does anything of any real meaning goes through a truckload of pain and an incredible amount of suffering, because suffering is a part of the human condition. And so much of the anxiety that we have in the world, so much of the dysfunction that we have in the world, is people trying to avoid pain. Here's the deal. What the scripture says is that it won't prevail against you. It doesn't say that weapons won't be forged. It doesn't say that life won't hurt. It says that at the end, you won't be harmed. That ultimately God will win out in this life and in the next. And if you choose a path of righteousness, you may be hard in this life, but you do have the promise that in the life to come, you have eternal life. Or in this life, you might find that the ragged, steep hills might turn into smooth valleys. But life is filled with pain and struggle. And once you embrace that, you can get to a place where you can have the fortitude to really face life as it is. And that's why I really appreciate the way that the Spirit of God speaks to us through the scriptures, but also through universal wisdom that we can glean from places like, Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Like, hey, you have to prepare your mind for action. You have to prepare your mind for the fact that the fight's going to be real, but you also have to anticipate victory. Because if you live in a state of constant defeat and defeatism, of course you're going to be defeated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or if you live in a state of expecting everything to work out, when it doesn't work out, you're going to be demolished.
Yeah.
Instead of recognizing, yeah, there are things that are going to be hard. I can embrace the suck. I can say, this is going to be a tough day. This is going to be a tough time. But weeping may endure for a night. Joy comes in the morning.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to really understand that. I remember I would hear scriptures like that, and I would think, man, that's some old Baptist stuff. Just, they'd be quoting at the funeral. But it's not till you go through the weeping in the night that you recognize the joy that comes in the morning. And I think it's really important for us to understand that's a part of the formation piece that we need to really embrace. And that's what I appreciate about this book, is the invitation to take the time to appeal to the God of creation and say, hey, I may not see things as I want to see them or as I should see them. God, help me, open my eyes, help me to see the miracles.
Yeah. I mean, I know I was just thinking as we were talking about this, thinking about people who I've helped become Christians. And I thought about like that process, and we have like a general guideline that we go through, and I thought, did I gloss over this part? And I remember I'm thinking, like, as you're talking, I'm kind of processing, I'm going through the memory banks, and I'm thinking like, no, we talked about this a lot, but I feel like we needed to talk about it more, right? Because I think that there's kind of like a wave where like, you come in and you're seeking God's love, kind of, you kind of reach your peak where, you get baptized and you're like, yeah, I'm unstoppable. And you know what I mean? And then, adversity hits, and I think you can go either one or two ways. Either maybe the people who are around you, or you have a good support system.
Yeah.
And they feel like, all right, this is the thing we talked about.
Right.
Because I remember talking about that with some people, like, okay, probably as soon as you get baptized,
that's when it hits.
It's going to hit you. And we'll be there for you. That's why we're always here. That's why we have family groups. That's how we, that's why we have discipleship time for these moments right here. Right. And everything's good. It's fine. We have a good time. Right. But it's for these moments. But when you don't have that system in place and that time hits you and you're alone with your thoughts, and then you add media, you add negative thoughts, you add negative media, you add all this stuff, or maybe negative people in your life. And I think it's so easy for you to just kind of drift away and be like, oh, well, it was good then, but when I need it the most, you're not fortified for that battle. Yeah.
And the battle is going to come. Yeah. And the battle comes, and Sun Tzu also says, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. You've got to win the battle within before you hit the field. And this is why Kit's advice that so many of us have embraced over these past, 35, 36 days, to fall on your knees first and say, all right, before I go to war, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to embrace victory before I go to war. And instead of saying, all right, I'm going to try to struggle through the day and just make it without God and cry out to God at the end of the day.
All right.
Let's start at the beginning.
Or right as something's happening. Like, oh, I need to pray. I mean, yeah, you should, but you should have prayed earlier too.
Yeah. And also the scriptures say pray continually, and I'll be real with you, man. And we were talking about this before we came on air. This has been a tough week. This has been a brutal week for me and my faith and my family, just working through stuff, dealing with challenges, dealing with situations. And I've had some backbreaking kind of moments in my own walk with God this week. And I understand. I understand that it is not easy in the 21st century, in 2021, to try to actually be a real Christian.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, straight up, it's not. And it's different. It's wild. It's different when you're dealing with like episodic difficulty than when you're dealing with like sustained trouble. But sustained trouble, I mean, you take the transition that we had when we started this podcast with a pandemic that we really thought was going to be like done in like 3 months tops. Right. And when I said 3 months, I thought, man, I'm thinking long term.
Yeah.
Like I really thought to myself, like I'm preparing our people for 3 months, man.
Like, all right, we gonna be on here for 3 months. Okay, then we gonna come back.
And it's gonna be stronger, better.
Everybody think we're gonna be cool. We might just sit apart a little bit.
Boom.
And then by October,
boom,
we right back on it.
We're riding. Man, it's been like almost a year, man. And I remember when there was just like one death, and it was like, all right, well, one death. Oh man, that was horrible.
Right.
Man, 1,000 deaths. Oh my goodness. 10,000. Man, we're almost at like 500,000 people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is crazy. Now, just to be real, there are lots of other reasons why people are dying other than COVID. There are people still dying the deaths of despair because of opioid overdose. People still committing suicide at record levels. Cancer is still real. Heart disease is still real. Violence that's happening in communities, that's still very real. There's a lot of brokenness in the world. And that's why we got to set our minds for spiritual battle. And there comes a point, I was talking to my wife, Tasha, about this today. I'm really grateful I got the opportunity to spend time with Julio and train and run my first marathon. I've done 3 marathons since and a bunch of other races. And marathons really helped me with my thinking because there's a point in a marathon where you hit a wall.
Yeah.
And I've hit it almost consistently at mile 20.
Really?
And it's like, boom, you hit the wall.
Mile 3.
Nah, bro. Mile 3, yes. Mile 3.
I call it the monkey. It's just
bro.
Like, you should quit, bro.
Yeah, you should. That's when you feel tired.
Don't your feet hurt?
Yeah, you feel, but there's a difference between your feet hurt and everything says, nah, man.
Yeah.
What you doing?
Yeah.
What you doing?
20.
You know you paid money, right? You paid people money to do this mess.
Yeah.
And mile 20, I hit a wall, and 3 times in a row, hit a wall. And at that point, between 20 and 26.2, it just hurts. And you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like a number of us have hit a wall. We've hit that wall. And you may have hit the wall in October, December. You may have hit it in January. You may just have hit it this week.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're going to hit a wall where it's just like you're going to have to decide whether your mind, your spirit, your body is going to move forward. And that is what you prepare for.
Yeah.
This is a matter of life and death, because this very state of your soul and the state of your family, and by extension, the state of our communities and our world, depends on the choices that we make when we hit that wall.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, it's probably been within the last month or two where I've just gotten like fed up with like mask. And, because we are a traveling family, as you can see, we're always going somewhere. And we've been a lot of places, in the past year, but because we've gone to these places, we've had to take, different precautions. And it just, I understand, and I'm not combating against the rules that have been put in place, but it's just like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. I want to be able to breathe. I want to, I want to I want to eat without getting stared at. I want, and again, in context, there's somebody right now in the hospital who can't breathe because they're on the ventilator. Right. So, everything in context. Right. I can only, I'm not making a general statement about everybody. I'm just talking about my life. Yeah. And so I don't know. I have to put things like that out there, but in these days you kind of do. Yeah, no, that's real. That's real talk, man. And so I, like you said, that wall. And then for the other thing is just my kids. Yeah. They're getting to the point where like they don't school, I'm going to go back. Like I haven't even used a notebook in like a year. Oh, well, this or that, it's just like, I never wanted you to get used to this. Yeah, I wanted you to like just be like, hey, this is a thing you could talk about. I remember we was under quarantine for like 3 months, right? Like it was just gonna be like a thing. We got over it, but it's changed. And now it's like go back to school, bro. It's like it's a new normal. It's a new normal. That's the real. But I appreciate there's something else that Sun Tzu, and again, I know you love his quotes as do I. But Sun Tzu said 2 things here I want to just point out. He says that a leader leads by example and not by force. And I think this is a moment that calls for leadership. And, we need spiritual leaders, but the spiritual comes before the leadership. Yeah. And we have a lot of people that are great at articulating ideas, very eloquent, have great strategic plans, but you actually need to be spiritual in order to lead God's people. Now, I'll be real with you. I find that difficult. I just do. It would be weird if you didn't. I'm just being, yeah, because there's some people like, oh yeah, I'm spiritual. I'm like, man, this is a struggle. It's a struggle because like I know how to speak Kinglish, so I can speak church language, but like being a Christian, is difficult when you face an adversary. The scriptures in Revelation 21 and Revelation 12 describe Satan as the accuser of our brothers who accuses them before our God day and night. So it's not only that Satan accuses us. Satan goes to God and says, let me tell you some stuff about Anton. Let me tell you some stuff about Will. Like, hold up, man. Like that's another level of boldness. Right. Like you gonna put down somebody's child to them. Like you come talking to about my son to me and see how that works out. Right. Talk about my daughter to me, see how that works out. Satan is that bold, that brazen. And that's why we need leaders who recognize you got to lead by example. And the example that we have to lead by is making the choice at mile 20
at mile 18, at mile 3, making the choice. I'm messing with you. No, making the choice that we're going to say, I'm going to do what's right, even if it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And when I say that is like antithetical to the modern era, that is antithetical to the modern. People want to feel good. They want to be happy. You hear people saying, I've got to do whatever makes me happy. Whoever said you needed to be happy? Not joy. Yes, you should have joy.
Yeah.
But there's no promise in this life that you're always going to feel happy.
Yeah.
And the truth is, the person that is perpetually chasing happiness and chasing feeling good will always be subordinate to the person who has the fortitude to embrace the suck.
Yeah.
That's just what happens, because those people actually can lead. Whereas the people that just need to feel good, man, you can drag them by the nose or lead them by the nose with a carrot or with a stick or with sugar. You can just take them wherever you want to take them. And so we need leaders who are going to be spiritual leaders who lead by example. Also, and this is the last little quote here from Sun Tzu. It says, in the midst of chaos, there's also opportunity. I feel like right now there is an opportunity for the church to be the light, to not fall prey to easy believerism and cheap grace, and kind of this idea that it's just all about how you feel, instead of it being about what it's about. Now,
that's a war.
As a war
in itself,
this
is a war.
But this is a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
Because I feel like our communities, man, our communities are being led astray by people that are saying you should just feel good. And the truth is, no, that's actually not how real life works.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about the fact that you shouldn't always feel bad. Right. So that the man who fears the Lord, Ecclesiastes says, avoids all extremes. I'm not talking about aestheticism and, like you should just feel guilty and sad all the time. That's weird, man. That's some strange stuff. But the idea of hedonism, the other side of that, you should always feel good. That too.
Yeah.
That's not real. But in the midst of chaos, and we're in the middle of chaos, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to be a clarion call, to be the shining light, to be the people of Jesus Christ, to be the people of the way, by saying, look, no weapon formed against you, no weapon, Anton, formed against you, it's going to prosper. No matter what Satan forges in his fiery forge that he brings out against you, it won't prosper, because God's calling you to a life of righteousness.
Yeah.
And that starts every morning, down on your knees, you pray, making a decision. You're going to listen to God's voice and not listen to the voice of the world. And that's a struggle, but
it's a struggle,
but it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done.
I think that it's funny. I'm looking at that book. It's the same copy I have.
For real?
Yeah.
Man.
I have a couple, but
that's War Baby.
It's one of my favorite ones.
Warfare Baby.
Yeah, he's a very good interpreter, so I like him.
Yeah.
But it's kind of synonymous to me, where I do a lot of, I don't want to say soul searching, but I can't really think of a better word, of how to be the best man possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that a lot of times it's synonymous with me trying to follow God's law.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Trying to listen to the writers in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and listen to my man James. And, I see those things that line them up with me trying to be the best father, husband, brother that I can. And everything that you talk about in this war is like the antithesis
yes.
of that.
It is.
Yes. Word.
Yes.
Yes. It's like everything is the complete opposite of that.
Right.
Like, hey, life's going to suck. Work really hard. See how far you get. God has a calling for you. Try to get there. I'm oversimplifying it. But for real, that's really where I am. I know what you're trying to say about happiness, and you're not trying to say that everything's going to be horrible. But I think that, I'm a type of person who I think that, okay, I was the type of person who I thought that I was where God wanted me to be. I was supposed to be out saving people, driving fast, locking bad guys up, rinse and repeat. Right. Then when you're not there, it's like, okay, well, it's clear because I did all that prior to being baptized. So now it's clear to me that, okay, well, maybe that was that part of your life.
Yeah.
But now I have something else for you to do.
Yeah.
Right. But of course I should just be like, well, no, but none of this stuff doesn't make me feel good. And I do have those feelings. So a lot of times I'm like, because that's what my heart was. You know what I mean? That was my calling. That's where I was meant to be. That's where I felt good.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's not life. The reality is, things happen.
Yeah.
Things happen.
And the world changes. I mean, I'll never forget this time last year, man. I'll be honest with you. I felt like I was living my best life. I ain't gonna lie. In 2020, I was like, man, look, I'm a vision dude. And even just the number 2020, I was fired up, man.
Yeah.
I came in like fired up. We went to Indonesia, met with the churches there. I was feeling fired up, man. We came, we're meeting at the Nova Workforce Development Center. I was like, this is the sweetest spot we've been in.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, people were coming every week, more people. I mean, it was just hundreds of people, man. It was amazing. I was like, I was laughing and having a good time and living my best life. And then I went to go preach in Boston. I'll never forget, man. And I went to go preach for a week like 2-3 days in Boston. And my mom died. And it was just devastating. And I came back and I was really down. I mean, just, it hit me like, and then an article had come out and that I didn't even know about had come out in the newspaper in Jamaica with my dad, just basically, making it plain that my neighbor had stole our inheritance.
In the paper?
Yeah. So yeah, because that they have those like financial postings, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
land transfers and things like that.
Yeah. And so my neighbors documented that they had acquired my family estate, and because it was a legal notice, that they had taken it, and they it's a long story short. I won't go into it on the pod, but it's like my father died all over again.
Right.
So my mom just died. My cousin sent me the article. It's like my dad died all over again. And I just tanked. And, I talked to Phil and Shinda Starr, and they were like, man, you need to get grief counseling. And I was like, grief counseling?
Yeah. I remember that. You were like,
and I was like,
I think I got to go to therapy. I was
like, therapy. And honestly, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, everything that I've known for like 23 years, my 24th year in the ministry, everything that I knew to do in ministry just got turned inside up and out, upside down. And then, a couple months in, the stuff that had happened with Ahmaud Arbery came out, and I'm a runner, and my son was a runner last year, with the pandemic, he wasn't he's not part of the track team right now, but he's a runner. And so when I saw what happened with Ahmaud Arbery, man, it's like, I saw my son.
Right.
And then, maybe a month and a half later, everything with George Floyd, and me and George Floyd, we're the same age. You know what I'm saying? He's like 3 inches taller than me, but we're the same age. I look at George Floyd. I don't see like a criminal. I see myself. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I'm like, what in the world? But it's all happening like, every day,
it
nonstop.
Seemed like something was happening.
Was just like happening. And so I'll be real with you, man. Like, it has been a beast trying to make sense of this. But what I've come to appreciate is that no weapon formed against us, no weapon forged against us will prevail. Like, Satan will come at you with everything he's got. But the level of intensity that Satan comes at you is an indication of the threat that you represent. Because the truth is, you don't double team a player that you're not threatened by.
Right.
You double team a player that's a threat. And let's just be real. The Church of Jesus Christ has been full court press, triple teamed. You know what I'm saying? America has been triple teamed. I mean, our communities have been barraged. This gives you an indication of the capacity that we have for greatness because of the intensity of the assault against us.
I see.
And I just think that should tell us something. And I do believe that in the midst of this struggle, there is an opportunity to step over the fray and say, what should I really be learning here?
Yeah.
And I do think it starts with prayer. And I mean, this is not from us. This was totally the Spirit of God that directed us to have Kit help us start the year off with prayer. And I've been amazed to see how the church has responded. I mean, everybody's rallied as a church to say, we need to pray. And now we're talking about family. And I think our perspectives and our priorities are starting to get aligned the right way. You know, next month, we're going to talk about community. You know, as we go into April, getting ready for Easter by faith, we're going to talk about discipleship. And we're really going to try to hone in and have a better understanding of these 4 key principles: our relationship with God, our relationship with our families, our relationship with our community, and the practice of our discipleship. But it all comes back to spiritual warfare. Yeah.
Gotta be prepared for battle.
Yeah, man.
Gotta be.
But I empathize though, bro, because sometimes you think, man, you know, what am I doing? You know, this is just not, I'm out of my element. This is not, because I'm telling you, like how you felt. I mean, you know, I know your story, you know, it's not as epic a transformation, but I'll be real with you, man. I just feel like, man, it's like a freight train got dropped on us in March.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was like, this is it, man. I remember walking into that workforce development center, and I was like, yes,
this place is cool.
Man, and I was making jokes, and I was happy. And then I'll be real with you, there are a couple months there, I didn't even smile, man.
Yeah,
you know, I just couldn't. I was just in the depths of despair.
Yeah,
and you know, and honestly, in 2020, I feel like my faith got reformed and refined and broken and reforged in a lot of different ways, just because, you know, you get to a place where you feel such deep sadness and such a profound sense of loss that there's only one person you can turn to.
Yeah.
And it's God.
Got to.
Know? And I had real doubts and real struggles, and I still work through these things. You know, it's like, you know, struggling with, man, you know, God, how could you let this stuff happen? You know, I was arguing with God this week, and, you know, and I apologized, you know, afterwards. Because I was like, man,
you didn't get your hip displaced, did you?
You know, I could have, and I should have.
But it's not Will anymore.
Yeah, I know.
It's Israel.
It's Israel. I should have, because I was like, look, man, I was like, how do you let such injustice happen in the world? Like,
yeah,
you know, what's up? You know, and I really struggled with God in terms of just understand that. And I told God afterwards, I said, man, you know, I'm glad that you're you, and, you know, I'm not you, because if I were you, there would be no people.
It would still be Old Testament.
I don't think there wouldn't even be Old Testament. It would just be like Book of Eli, man. Be some crazy mess, man. Some Mad Max craziness.
I just think sometimes some people, you're going to be glad that God established the new covenant with us, because
hey, I'm saying
Old Testament God would have been like, you know what?
I'm done.
Let me control alt delete you guys.
I know. And we're starting over.
Yeah.
It's like what's that? The end game, like snap my finger. Y'all jokers are gone.
Yeah.
But on a real though, you know, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And his commitment to us, his commitment to me and you, his commitment to everybody that's joining us here is a real commitment that if you will put your trust in him, no weapon forged against you will prosper. And this is our heritage. Our heritage is that no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how hard and crushing the pain is, no matter how deep the despair is, the weeping may endure for a night. Joy comes in the morning.
Yep.
Joy comes in the morning.
So it looks like we're done. We've completed another pod.
We have.
We're done. So, guys, if you check this out, thank you for checking this out.
Yep.
Looks like the majority of you will be catching this up in the replay.
Yep.
I don't know where you guys are, but you know, I don't know. Maybe we got to be more consistent, so we can get our
we'll
back.
We'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not leaving anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
So we will be right back here in Foundation Studios.
Foundation, baby.
Like I always say, if there's somebody you want us to, have on the show, or a topic you want us to talk about, I know we're going to be talking about spiritual warfare, but a lot of things that you might want to talk about fall into that category.
Sure do.
So
love to hear from you.
Yeah. So let us know, send us an email, send us a text. Like I said, real quick about the audio version, because of the cyber attack, it might take a little bit longer. So if you're listening to this and it's later on in the week, again, the site we use is under cyber attack, so it's going to take a little bit of time. Hopefully they don't pay them off and they just leave them alone, but that's probably not how those things go. So, I'll get it to you guys as soon as I'm able to upload. So, yeah, that's it.
Absolutely, man. Well, as always, this has been the Greater Everyday podcast, and our commitment, as always, is to inspire you to be greater every day. Mm-hmm. In the midst of whatever chaos you find yourself, there's always opportunity. Remember that spiritual warfare is a matter of life and death, and that no weapon formed against you as you go into this week will prosper. Stay strong, stay real. We'll catch you on the other side.
Later, peeps.
Peace.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not deleting comments.